Megan, welcome to Further Forward.
Hello, my friend.
I'm screaming already, like I'm at a 10 and we have a long way to go, but I'm so excited.
Honored. I mean, I've been in your vortex for years now, following you in all the different levels and tiers and layers and just all of the beautiful energy you put into the world with all the things that you're so passionate about and helping others in the community. So, I am blown away and honored to just even be invited into these conversations because we always have that imposter syndrome of oh, what do we have to say? Does anyone care? And I just feel like you hold space for so many people while giving back and managing a lot in your own life, which I know is not easy. So thank you for doing these things and for putting this amazing podcast out there and for sharing voices and mine as well. So
You
yeah,
that I receive that. I'm getting better at receiving love, receiving my flowers because I have a tendency to be like, "Nah, it's fine," or like, "Nah, other people are doing more than me," but I have to be like, "No, I'm doing great." And thank you for seeing that and thank you for seeing me.
always,
I appreciate you being here.
always.
Um, ma'am. Okay. I am gonna let you do sort of your own intro, but a couple of things that I need everyone to hear because you are a very accomplished woman. Okay. So you've spent over 2 decades in luxury and specialty and consumer retail, correct?
Yes.
You were you were just in a picture with Gloria freaking Steinem. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that in there because I was like, oh my God. Um, you've been featured in Forbes, you've been on Good Morning America, you've done countless events, speaking engagements, conferences, you sit on boards. You also put on your own events. You did Pivot with Purpose live at Big Night Live just a few years ago, maybe two, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, and you've hosted your own podcast, Pivot with Purpose, for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And you're just now in the midst of launching your own tech company hiring platform, Concé, like concierge, right?
Yeah.
Where you're going to change the game about how people look for jobs, how people hire candidates, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to take a breath. That is just incredible.
Oh.
And how did you get from wherever you came from to everything that I just read? Like, were you bred to be this, or did you push your way there? Who are you?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for all of that. And then, it's funny and I'll just call it out women specifically. We are always in this syndrome in which I like to highlight as on to the next,
Mm,
right? So it's never about being like, wow, I did that thing and really and celebrating. It's like, okay, what's next, right? And to sometimes hear it all back and to really sit with how far you've come and what you've been able to accomplish, quite frankly, for me, I'll just say it in somewhat of a short period of time, but not really when I decided, Ashley, it was time to flip the script, right? So, thank you for all of those intros and reminding me how far I've come, right? When you think in the days you're like, I'm worthless, I'm not doing anything right. And you're just like, well, actually, girl, you've done a lot. So yeah. But no, I was not bred for this. Certainly very, very aware, even as a small child, firstborn Virgo perfectionist, say less. Eldest daughter. I mean, please, those accolades could go on and on. I would see a lot of, turmoil in family and parental things and sort of early child trauma things and situations where it would be very easy for me to have just been a victim and to say, oh my gosh, all these bad things are happening to me. I found out a long time ago, if you want to do something, you gotta get there yourself. And that's just my way of life. I think there's a lot of incredible individuals that can feel very supported. My husband, one of them, throughout childhood, and to have a family that's always backing them. I didn't have that. I did have some love and support and care and shelter and things like that, which I'm very appreciative and always live in gratitude for the things that I've had. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, shoot, if I want to do that, I'm going to have to like figure the heck how to get there. And no one's handing me anything.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? And I think at a very early age, like seeing an opportunity to, if I wanted to buy something, okay, well, I'm going to go get a job. And if I wanted to make a sports team, for somebody who very early on in my life, because a lot of trauma that I went through, struggled with eating disorders really early on, Ashley, and was like super skinny through high school, like all the 90s things of like, fat-free eating and, like, 27 hours on, like, the Stairmaster that
Yeah,
raised us. It was, like, cardio oh my god, and with no social media, it's so wild now, but, I made the lacrosse team, and I was always, like, this underdog of I don't know, somehow couldn't be trusted, but yet when you put me in those scenarios, I, like, thrived. So, it's always like, "Well, give me a chance, and I'm gonna prove to you that I'm worthy of being here." But also, like, I'm gonna create stages and opportunities for myself where I'm like, I don't need to be invited. Like, I'm gonna show you. And I think like that's where just a lot of people get stuck, girl, is either victim or the framework of how to get there, in which it's like, oh, all these things are gonna fall into my lap and people are thinking about me. No, no one's thinking about us ever. And how do you trailblaze and almost like rewrite your story where I say early on, and this is of highest privilege where I know there were a lot of things set up for me that allowed me to get here that were not as terrible, but it's just, no one is going to do it for you. And I think where people just are like waiting for these opportunities to drop and things to get better, it would have been so easy for me to just be like, well, the world's against me. I have a terrible this and a terrible that. And I was like, no, I want better, more for myself. And in every terrible scenario that was really affecting me in a way, I found a way out to make it work in a way that allowed me to kind of elevate into a better a better opportunity. But that doesn't happen from like staying stuck in environments, stuck in people, stuck in friends, stuck in relationships. And I think unfortunately sometimes you get stuck and may not know where to navigate things out. But felt very lucky early on that I had an awareness of like, oh yeah, no, this isn't it.
would you say then
Yeah.
that it was kind of, I don't wanna use the word easy, but I'm gonna say the word easy simply because I feel like that's the best way to describe it in this moment, but was it easy then for you to kind of leave people behind or leave situations behind, friends or jobs or, whatever, in order to sort of get yourself to the next level? Because I know that's something that I've experienced a lot since childhood, and this is pretty pervasive in the Black community, and it's kind of unfortunate too. Um, but this we out of love and protection, I know where it comes from, but we say things to people like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "Don't forget that I did this, that, and the third for you," or, "Oh, she thinks she's this." Now, I've had family members be like, "Oh, you moved to Boston and now you're da 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 da," and it makes you feel one, awful because it's like, especially from the people who you expect to support you always and in all the ways, it just feels like, wait, this isn't a part of the bargain. But then you also quickly realize that this is actually part of the bargain because these are also the situations that we have to learn how to grow through and sort of like position ourselves even though we have all of these things sort of that feel heavy or that we have to grieve. So was that easy for you? How did you work through your becoming?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it's easy. I feel like there is a mindset piece where you know that the environment that you're in at a point is no longer serving you. And I think it's just how soon
Mm,
you
mhm.
get to that moment where you're like, this isn't it, and X, Y, and Z, and something is struggling via mental health, physical health, just in general, where sure, first born eldest daughter people pleaser, it's always easier to stay in something that's serving someone else in a way because you're not going to disappoint them and you're going to shrink yourself and just go with the flow and don't ruffle feathers, true eldest daughter, like, all the Instagram memes of like, we were the good kid. We never got in trouble. Like, you don't have to worry about us. We're super independent. But easy no, because I always say there was such a point in my life where I led this like Jekyll and Hyde
Mhm.
lifestyle where I was like two personalities conflicting in like one body, where I also have this very chameleon like sort of way about me, Ashley, which I think serves me well now because I can assess a room or an individual. And I think this comes a lot from being in service and like helping the public, which anybody listening that has children, like put them in a service based job.
Amen. Amen.
Everybody should be
Amen.
working in service and know how to deal with the public,
Yes.
period. Because
Yes.
hi, we're
Yes.
all like this and like all the screens. And I'm like, do we know how to have conversations with people
Exactly.
anymore without using like 6-7 or slang or like Riz or like whatever? I'm like, that's not even the English language. But I think that, it really is about seeing y- like, why am I like these two personalities and like, why am I trying to be everything to everyone? But seeing a room of people and knowing how to align with the energy or find that common denominator where it's just like, just get them to like you, Megan, just get them to like you, just get them to like you. And I live this like narrative, quite frankly, up until like a few years ago, where it's like, yeah, I just want to be liked by everybody. Right. And don't ruffle any feathers. And do whatever it takes to people please everyone so that they like you. And I'm like, ask me today if I care who likes me or not. No, I'm just kidding. But like, it took me a while to shed that. And I think that's not easy because you live in so many different versions of you that are not authentic, but you're so scared to speak that, being feared of disappointment or not being liked. And I think that, my friend, is not easy because people can go their whole lives not showing up in the way that just like feels so freeing to them because there's something suppressing it or pushing it down, or like you said, family members that are like, well, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. And some of my favorite things to always say is like, inspired by so many people that have said this before me, is like, if people think that you're doing something out of the norm, it's just because they're always going to judge what they don't understand. And you're not crazy for doing it. You might just be first in your family. And that's just how it is.
Right.
So, yeah,
That's such a good point.
yeah.
Also too, it's not like there aren't consequences for not being liked. Like a part of it is like you want to be liked because it's evolution. Because if the tribe didn't like you, they would kick you out and you would be dead, right? Because you could not survive
Yes.
on
Yes.
the freaking Serengeti by yourself. So I know
Yeah.
that there is something, literally in our brains that we are wired for community. We're wired to want to belong, and there are real consequences. Maybe there are less opportunities, or maybe someone you want to work with won't work with you, or whatever. And I think that other piece is like trusting in the alignment, like trusting
Mhm.
as you're making those decisions and as you're paring things away, that what is truly for you will show up. And then once you reach the next like level, so to speak, quote unquote, other things fall away and then other things come up. And then it's like this constant, for me, it feels like grief and relief at the same
Yes.
time of
Yeah.
thank God I'm through that.
Yeah.
And also, damn, I might miss that friendship or that person or that job or that, you know, whatever. It's kind of conflicting emotions for me a lot.
Yeah. Well, being liked for me was like navigating, it's almost like was like survival mode
Yeah, tell me more.
of like, Megan, like you just said, you need this job, you need this relationship because this right now is safety or security,
Yes. Yeah.
because you're in the scarcity money mindset, or kind of a scarcity life set of like knowing that you don't necessarily have these parental anchors for yourself, and you're out there, you're 18, 19, 20, 25, like traveling all around the world doing all the things, where it's like sometimes that likeness is key to surviving, right? That period until you get to a point where you're like, well, why am I trying so hard for this person or a situation to like work out when also at times too, like the reciprocation is very one
I'm glad you mentioned.
sided and you're like, killing yourself or draining your bank account. Like we probably have seen, I've been one of those friends of like, let me pay for everybody. Let me take everybody out. Like, oh, Megan, she's got it. I don't know, still to this day. And quite frankly, y'all can call me at any time. But like, oh, well, Megan will handle it. Megan knows somebody. Megan knows this. And like that, my friend, long term, not sustainable. When you become everything to everyone all the time. And then you start setting those boundaries and I think then there comes that next level of disappointment where you're no longer in scarcity survival. Like you're more in that alignment of like, is this decision to do this or to be in this room or to be in favor of this person right for me? Is it going to drain me? Is it going to fill me up? Is it going to cost me a lot of money? And that's life, my friend. That's like that's maturing. Unfortunately, I went to the school of hard knocks. It's a hard knock life, not for us. But like, when somebody will like just teach me the hard way, like I don't want to know the easy way. I want to know like the hardest way possible while burning the candle at both ends. Like, period. That's my memoir. Like, so tag that right now. And that's okay because I wouldn't be here today if that wasn't how I literally just like ran through the fires to learn all those things because I just feel like now you have this self-awareness and now of course I'm able and I feel really comfortable mentoring others and there's this relatability that I have where it's like I see you, I've been there. There's so many aspects of my life that are very untraditional and you're like it's okay but you have to come to terms with yourself of like where I am now is great, the people that are in my life anymore, it's great, they were there for a reason and now we're moving forward and yeah, be okay with it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of mentoring and advice, kind of a little bit of a pivot, but we'll come back. I have just so much that I want to ask you, so we'll jump around a little bit. But because you are, an executive recruiter and you're a coach, let's just talk about mentoring and advice for a little bit because lots of folks are having hard time finding jobs these days. So just from your perspective, um actually, Mark just started a new job and
Oh, nice.
his last 2 roles were because of executive recruiters. So it's people like you that are keeping my household running. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for your
yeah.
work. Um, so I know a little bit about how it works, but, do you think it's a problem of lack of jobs, or is it lack of skills, or is it lack of people knowing how to sell themselves or create their materials? Like, what advice could you give for people who are looking right now, to sort of give themselves a little bit of an edge?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, like, thank you to Mark for obviously having an incredible background and opportunity to navigate himself. No, because like, and I think this is a little bit of a misconception actually. Like, recruiters call you when they trust you and maybe understand like the way that you show up, you interview. Like, we are just a vehicle. We are a medium to connect a client with potential talent for obviously a job that falls like in the middle of brokering and all. But at the end of the day, when you're on top of mind for recruiters, I mean, that means that we know, like, trust you. We know you're going to show up. We know that you're going to interview well. I mean, that is an extension of us as a reputation of who I work with, right? So that says a lot about Mark. So that's amazing. But I think what we're facing today is probably in the pandemic we were dealt with whole different other challenges. Like now, almost 6 years later, we're in this moment where there's a lot of factors against us. We'll just maybe focus on the ones sometimes less obvious. The world is the world, right? There's always going to be something going on, but as it applies to professionals, like yeah, navigating heavy times in my industry, economic challenges. When I was just talking to a client today, like the tariffs and all the things that come in that unfortunately affect budgets and the ability for individuals to hire, where everyone's like, oh, it's so great. Like, all these things are changing. But I'm like, I don't feel like there are a lot of times are ever a spotlight put on real like impact, especially for nimble founder-led brands. I mean, brands, I have so many incredible women that have beauty brands and have their own brands and have had to pause a lot of things because when prices increase, double, triple, it's like, oh my gosh, like how do I even stay in business? So you have this a little bit of a resistance from companies to hire right now, given a lot of the uncertainty that's going on in the world in much different ways than we were even dealing with in the pandemic. Then you have extreme lack of resources that are actually working against us as it applies to technology. 75% of people that apply to your standard job via LinkedIn or Indeed or whatnot have no business applying. Actually, there is a rise in AI bots that are applying to jobs, muddying things up for individuals. So for me, I have a job posting that I'm working on for a really highly coveted role for an amazing brand. In less than 12 hours, I'll probably get over 700 hits, emails, inquiries, resumes, LinkedIn messages because and for me, like I can see the resumes that make sense. I try to get back to people. I can't get back to everyone. And I'm definitely not getting back to the ones that don't fit at least the basic criteria. But the problem is, and I'm all for like shoot your shot, but there's very little filters done well to prohibit those that absolutely do not make sense from applying. And honestly, like, not allowing those valuable individuals that are truly trying to follow the rules in the right way to be seen, girl, period. Then, on top of that, the economy great, the
Yeah,
systems are working against us
we're with you.
technology wise. And then, furthermore, it's the individual. If you are not someone who feels comfortable tapping into your network, asking for help, the shame and maybe feeling that you want to make a job switch, but oh my gosh, you're so lucky to have a job. Like, why would you? And feeling like you can't talk to anyone about it because you should just kind of stay put. But you're like, well, no, there has to be resources. So people kind of either not knowing how to navigate search well, and then they're just throwing their resumes and everything, not knowing how to reach out to the network. And then when finally potentially getting that interview and getting in front of somebody, you're right. It's then not being in the right mindset or preparing well enough to be able to navigate an interview process that when you think about those 700 resumes coming in, if you're one of the 10 that they're choosing, you better believe you have one shot to make that first impression, and you have to show up with so much conviction and confidence, not ego, but a quiet sort of humility of like, well, yes, I can do this job. I absolutely can, add value. This is what I'm going to do for you when that dreaded question comes up, which everyone gets asked, which I talked about on Good Morning America. Tell me about yourself. It's not about navigating these old school ways that a lot of us have been trained of like, let me walk you through my background. You got a half an hour, if you're lucky, of that time. You need to immediately be able to share and show value, be proud to talk about your accomplishments and achievements. Know that it's not bragging or like being cocky. It's like you're stating facts about your background. And I just feel like a lot of people don't prepare themselves well, like once they get there. Or, girl, they get so in their head that they tried to like build this script. I was actually coaching somebody the other day, and I'm like, you're not in a sitcom. Like, what are you trying to remember? Right? Like, the problem is like when you remember it and you're like, oh, that's what I gotta say. When you're not asked that question, you get tripped up because you're like, oh, well, this is what's coming next. Like, how can you ever anticipate? Actually, I was just gonna do a blog about this today, but like you can't anticipate anything that anyone is going to ask you in this day and age. Conversational interviews are definitely a thing where it's like the conversation can go everywhere. It's the right questions, prepare yourself, but there are so many things. It's like lack of confidence, lack of resources, crazy economic times, the masses, the volume, and like how you stand out in the noise is by taking bold action and believing that you have a lot to offer. And if you're really good at navigating yourself, even while working full time, of like always being interview ready, because we should not be interviewing when we need to find a job, and companies shouldn't be hiring just when they need to hire. That's a whole nother conversation. You're going to be like, who wants to know? I mean, talking from a girl who's been pitching for like 2 years of my life, like my blood, sweat, and tears of my business. I'm like, okay, who needs to know about it? And imagine like when you're talking about it, like we also talk about other topics we're passionate about, but like always be ready to professionally like put yourself out there for whatever your job is, corporate it girly or founder or somewhere in between. And I think that the lack of us like not knowing how to navigate those conversations about ourselves and control the narrative
Right.
is like really, I think, what does not allow you to like get through this really terrible, stressful time. Probably the craziest I've seen in 13 years of doing this, which is why I'm building what I'm building because I'm like, this is not the future. It's
Yeah.
just so stressful, you know?
And well, I will also just add for people, my husband is an executive, has been one for a very long time. And the interview process these days, he's going like 9, 10
I
rounds.
was gonna say, like, how many rounds did he have? Yeah, so
That's
you
the
have to like
other
endurance.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to, right? And he's like building presentations and learning product, right? And this is all for free,
Yep.
all on his
Yep.
own time. you
Yep.
know? And so there's also like this aspect of if you're applying for jobs, especially sort of the higher up you go, be prepared for like it to be a lot because these companies to your point of like being risk averse, they want to know. They
I
want
wanna
to
see. Yeah.
he's he met with, first he's meeting with the recruiter, then he's meeting with HR, then he's meeting with, who's running the team now, then he's meeting with the team, then, and the CEO is always last. It's like,
Mhm.
and it is just it's a lot. It's a lot.
I know, and I think anyone who maybe has navigated search or has hired on the other side of it, and if you're in a company that has a lot of decision makers, you're right. Like I used to get candidates that had a visceral reaction to like having to do a project, like I'm not giving my ideas for free, and I was like, great. I mean, I would say like 2.5 years ago when like the pandemic hiring was like back, and everyone's like, yeah, we just need to get people back in the doors and into work, like but now it's again this competition. How are you standing out? A company is going to want to see, just like I have to do little presentations or mapping when I'm trying to secure a client, your way of thinking. And I actually coach my clients to be like, don't hire somebody unless you know someone's like walked your floor in your retail store, like can put a little bit of like a business plan together, like can identify your top customer and like how to market to them. Like, I guess whatever, tier you're hiring for, but I think gone are the days of this like smooth sailing, like 3 interviews, here are my references. It's like you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is, that if you say that you can do all these things, you're probably gonna have to show someone in some way what that means and what that looks like. And I mean, there's been small presentations to like big even personal brand, like who are you? What are you known for? Like, what's your leadership style? Like, what would you do in this conflict situation? And like, even putting you in like real life experiences, like, we have to be ready and prepared because that's really how companies are filtering out top talent too, is like, well, you have to at least give us something back that we can see of like, how would you operate? How would you do this? How would you work in our business? Which is different than we've ever had to
Right.
navigate before, you know? Yeah.
Be prepared. I mean, it
Yes.
it almost it sounds like, not just be preparing for the interview, which I also think, if you are somebody who this is like a little bit of tough love, right? But if you are someone who has access to the internet, then that means you always have access to resources, right? Maybe you can't afford to hire a coach to work with you one
Uh,
on one, but most people who have businesses or coaching businesses or something have some kind of free resource, whether it's a blog like the one that you put out on LinkedIn or a
mhm.
or whatever. You can always be learning and getting tips and tricks from people um as you're kind of figuring out, okay, how do I pitch myself? What should my social media look like? How do I prepare for a project? How do I do a conversational interview? I don't know how to do that, right? Like
Mhm.
there's so many people out there, trying to grow their businesses by providing free resources to folks.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point.
there's a
Uh-huh.
way. There's always a
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah.
But I also just wanna ask you quickly,
Yeah.
and then I do wanna get into Concé. Do people should people prioritize, setting aside some money for a coach? I know you have to say yes because you are a coach, but, like, give me real, you know?
It depends. Look, do your first of all, I will say get super clear before making that investment of like what are you really struggling with? And if you potentially tapped your resources where maybe you know someone in your network that is, a recruiter or in talent or in something that maybe can is open to having a conversation, again, reciprocal. When you're reaching out to somebody, try to see if there's a way that you can offer support for them, if they have a podcast or a blog, or how can I support you? Yes, I'm asking for this, but like what's going on in your life? I feel like there's this one-way street that tends to exist in this sometimes mentorship thing where people know you have all these like great resources, they can just access you at any time, especially recruiters, and it's like awesome. But sometimes you find those same people like just constantly coming back, and you're like, okay, I'll have this chat, but like, could you like, promote something that I'm doing, or maybe like talk about the great experience you've had working with me or something. So
Right,
you
right.
always want to have like a two-way street. But sometimes maybe it's just like talking it out with your community or someone in your network of like, hey, I'm struggling with search. Like, what's your take on the market? And they're open to it. But then I will say, like, if you're struggling with navigating how to conduct an interview and you're not like landing that second interview, and you're maybe looking online and watching, blogs or podcasts and things like that, and something's just still not resonating with you, like I will say I've known people that are even sometimes, a year and a half out of like not having a job, and just I get it when you can get into like a scarcity mindset. You're like, I can't afford this and I can't have a coach and I can't pay. But like think about what you're losing out on by at least like not even giving a small investment in yourself. And there's a lot of great coaches out there that are not trying to sell you like a $10,000 package. Like I'll do like 30 and 60 minutes. I will say, like, I wouldn't be here where I am today without working with a coach in various ways. But you have to get clear on what you're struggling with, because if you're going to make that investment, you don't want it to go into it not getting out what you need to get out on. Just when people ask me all the time, because I'm in masterminds and like all these you know, different groups, it's like, "Oh, it's just a pay to play." I'm like, "Well, sometimes it can feel that way, but also sometimes, like, yeah, you're actually investing in yourself to get into new rooms, to get new access to people, to get new information, to get new this, to get new, like, you walk into Starbucks, do you beg them for, like, a free iced coffee just because you're like, "Well,
Right.
I like iced coffee and I can make it at home, but, like, I'm just gonna show up here and you should just give me a coffee." It's like, well, no, like, why are you in that room? Like, why should you make that investment? And like, what are you missing out on by like not investing in yourself? And I think that script, especially with Concé, has to be flipped, because I believe truly that if you can pay for LinkedIn, which there is a paid version, or you're paying for, actually, I've had people that have told me they've paid like $1,500 for somebody to redo their resume. I'm like, y'all, that is a piece of paper. How about spend $1,500? I will give you 4 sessions. You will literally be able to navigate yourself out of any interview at any time for the rest of your life. And I also think that there's investments in like the wrong direction that people make, which I'm like, why? But then that's where it comes in, where people are like, well, I got bamboozled, or I felt like I got scammed. I got nothing out of it. So, bottom line, get clear and do your due diligence. And, just like again, too, we research like gym classes and fitness. Like, there's going to be things that are right for you and people that are right for you and people that aren't. But there's a lot of like really interesting coaches and individuals out there. But please, like, don't hire, do not hire somebody to write your dang resume. Call me first. Like, if you spend $0, spend it on that. Like, you do not need to worry about a piece of paper anymore. You need to know how to navigate those bullets on that paper and put it out there in an interview, and be able to share how you're going to be a valuable asset to that company. They're not hiring a piece of paper, they're hiring you. So that was a long story short, but yes, but make sure that it's the right investment and somebody truly is going to be able to help you help yourself navigate through ever what, pain point you're dealing with. But typically it is about navigating the interviews.
Gotcha.
We're also stressed about being seen, but there are ways. If you need to ask somebody for something, be very specific, but also find a way to give back to them, or how can you support them on the other side, and be bold. You just really have to take bold action. And it's not just like one email everybody. They're like, oh, I emailed that person. I'm like, how many times? They're like, oh, once a couple months ago. I'm like, email them again. Professional persistence, maybe not 10 emails, but there's a sweet spot where people are busy. I miss things all the time if they're not flagged. So you really have to stay on top of somebody depending on like what your goals are. But yeah, it's going to be an investment in yourself. Honestly, I truly believe like we invest in all other aspects of our life, girl. The hiring job process, like we're finally getting to these conversations of like it's not going to be free anymore in some way, in case you're like a Mark or someone that like has built a really strong reputation, but that's years in the making,
Right.
years, right? So
A lifetime.
yeah, a light, right? Like, and that's been like that's your whole personality. It's just like people know you. Sure, they're always gonna you're gonna be top of mind, but that's not the general population,
Right.
right?
Okay. So number one, what I'm hearing is like take a step back, have a little bit of self-awareness of like where is the process going wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you need help?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, doing
Yeah.
search for coaches and sort of contacting people who you think might vibe with you and could help you
Yes.
with the specific thing that you are looking for.
Yeah.
And what I also heard you say was that we invest in lots of other things, and I'm also just thinking we waste a lot of money on a lot of things, right? You mentioned Starbucks, like,
Yes.
you if you are someone who's like, "Shit, I need a coach," then stop buying coffee out, stop doing this, that, and the third, right? Sometimes, and I am not embarrassed to say, like, we make sacrifices in this house sometimes to make something important happen.
Yeah.
Other things that aren't that important can't happen, right? And like that's just life. And I think that's life for a lot of Americans to just be like, you know what? Maybe we don't go out to dinner for a couple of weeks in order to pay for XYZ. And so a part of that self-awareness, I think, is like just being smart of what is the priority right now? Is it your coffee outside or is it getting someone who could help you get to the next level of your career?
Right. And this like unfortunately, and I always say this, it's like it's an intangible, right? And again,
Right.
like we're
Right.
not it's not gonna be that coffee that like, it's like gets you jolted, or the skincare cream that's gonna, maybe make you look 5 years younger in like 2 days or whatever. It's just like we're sold all these things that are these like immediate kind of satisfaction, going out buying the Zara top or the shoes for the outfit. I'm like, oh my gosh, if you really sit down and look at your personal P&L, there has to be a line item, everyone, and I will flip this script in very much Meghan Houle fashion of like, you're gonna have to keep a line item under personal investment, professional investment,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for you. You're talking to a girl that spent $500,000 plus building a tech company, like literally. I'm 46 years old and I've never owned a home. We're in our condo here in Boston, but for good reason. Like our money, our resources like have been invested in other ways, just like you were saying. And that could be not societal norms. I don't have kids either. I mean, girl, please, we can go on forever. But like, please, everyone, put a line item in your life for personal investment. And whatever that goal is for you, like keep a couple $100, even like a coach that could offer you a quick like 30 minutes, like it could really change your life and perspective in terms of like shifting your thought process around something professionally. Even if you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business, maybe you need to talk to somebody about business development or client development. Like we got to keep a line item for ourselves moving forward, in this professional, kind of way, because as we're seeing with all the things going on, no one's doing that for us. No one's like freely guiding us. Like we have to invest in ourselves, like beyond the tangible, instant gratification things. Like what's that long-term plan? And is the version of you able to hold that plan for yourself? And if not, and you're not elevated enough to like be able to come in and receive all that, like how do you work with somebody to be able to like to get there and to feel really good about that next step? So
That
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go right in to Concé.
You're like, well, since you
You laid all the groundwork so beautifully. We know the problems.
Yeah.
I could not have planned this better. Okay, so now
Yeah.
us, what are you building?
Yeah. The recruiting system and the way that we hire and get hired as we know it, the process is broken. As I was saying, I mean, 75% of people that apply to these mass job postings have no business applying, which leads individuals that do make sense unseen in that ATS vetting, where we're focused on keywords, not culture fit, not soft skills, not actually the things that get us like hired. It's just a piece of paper that we're like, please, matrix, computer see us. And it's like, no, well, that's not the way. The job process, as we were just talking about it, has taken 3 to 4 times longer than we've ever known it. So not only are we in the masses, once companies get into process, it's 90 to 120 to 180 days where, from start to finish, that job search is completed, which is also exhausting when you think about individuals that are in companies that are maybe stepping up and doing the most because there's an open position and why is this getting filled, so that's leading to burnout and people feeling regret and dissatisfaction, which then they're out interviewing, like it's a whole cycle. And then at the end of the day too, companies are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to navigate this process with lackluster technology and outdated resources and honestly mindsets of how the job search needs to be in 2025 and beyond. I mean, like I always equate job search, and when you're really in it, some companies find do it well. And if anyone's listening and hires and recruits, like great. It's not every industry, but maybe as it applies to retail consumer goods, like we're almost in the VCR phase still of like, why are we still in the 80s as it applies to like navigating forward? And like now, sure, with the rise of AI and all this like tech, like, there's ATS systems. Sure, they're maybe a little bit better. Now everyone's taking their resume and flipping it into AI and rewriting it, which also is like a little concerning because you still need to know how to talk through that resume. And a lot of the touches that felt once human actually don't because we are leaning so heavily into this technology. AI, rewrite my thank you note. AI, write this email for me. And we're kind of getting away from this human side of what we're doing, which is at the end of the day, you're hiring a human for your job. And we cannot take that human out of the process. AI can enhance it. But at the end of the day, soft skills, culture fit, all those things assessing, which are not going to come from an ATS system or whatnot. There's just a terrible, terrible technology actually around that. So Concé really was this brainchild almost about 2 years ago where I'm like, gosh, seeing how I recruit for so many years manually doing presentations, resumes, doing all having actual phone conversations with people. Oh my God, not the phone. Like, who's calling me? Just text me. What? Like audio message me, right? Like I'm an old school recruiter, but
Yeah.
companies are spending money like crazy on these software systems that are all clunky. They don't work together. Candidates, as we were just talking about, professionals, it's the biggest white space moment now because unless you're working with a recruiter, there's no agents for you. There's no Jerry Maguires out there, like ready to help you close your next deal because job seekers don't pay a recruiter, right? It's free 99. If someone has a job for you, it's the clients paying them. But there are so many individuals that then, as we were saying, spend lots of money on the wrong things, like trying to redo a resume or a bad coach that's giving you advice, or spend no money and get stuck in this cycle of, I got to apply to all these jobs because eventually I'm going to get seen. No, that's not it. And they're not reaching out to their network. And I feel like there's a job seeker professional sort of epidemic that's happening where so many people right now are struggling in different ways to be seen for actually things that matter in their
Mm,
career,
mm,
not just like the timeline of their experience, and oh, your resume is like missing these bullets. It's like, like, can we just get somebody on the phone? Can we just get someone connected? So Conti will be, if you think about it from a job seeker point of view, we're creating a vetted private career community to be able to invite people in to get out of the masses and get into AI matchmaking. So think about Raya for Jobs,
Okay.
where you can come in, you can create your sleek profile. You're not on like the LinkedIn job boards where people can like search you and you got the green circle around your name. Like there's an anonymity piece unless you want to be seen. And you're going to tell us in your profile of, I want to be matched with these jobs. These are my industries that I'm interested in. This is my skill set via market, social media, digital, all of that. Here's some of the things that I'm interested in, networking, um, career coaching, professional development, like sponsorships or whatever. So, we will create a community inside of Conti. At first, it's really going to be this very traditional companies post jobs in there, and we help a company from job offer to job description to job offer, manage that process under one tech stack. So no more 7 different softwares. And then on the job seeker side, like you're going to wake up every day, you're going to open your Conci app, and what's the most fun is even when you're not looking for a job, like, don't you want to see like what you could be matched with? And you're either matched with a job opportunity or an opportunity to connect with somebody like within your interest area to start a conversation, get into job search. No more applying as it, is this traditional like masses. It's really about precision and intentional matching with companies that will be on Conci, starting in retail and consumer goods, that will be posting their jobs there, that really you're going to be able to connect. Do I want to meet? Great. What time can we meet? Like you're literally planning everything under this one app. So no more chasing emails, no more chasing like video links and Calendly availability. It's like, why don't we have technology that supports end to end the process on the client side and have a professional career community where you're matched with jobs and you get to say yes or no? Do I want to apply? And there's an expiration date on that. So if it's like not within, 48 hours, then that's going to go away. I mean, there's a responsibility too, where I do feel like companies, job seekers, almost this like ghosting, like frustration of like, oh, I reached out or so and so reached out. I never heard back or I never heard back. Like that is not going to be allowed in the app. I will always say no. It's better than nothing, or no, thank you. It's better than leaving somebody hanging, especially someone who's been interviewing with you for maybe like months and months, where I don't know, maybe you've heard of some stories where people are like, yeah, I never heard back. I'm like, well, how many interviews? They're like, oh, it's been like 6 months and I did a presentation. And I'm like, how can you just not get back to
Right.
somebody? Like, I can't navigate that myself. So we are solving the problem on the client side and saving companies time, money, and resources. And here is this white space opportunity for professionals to get into a vetted community and intentionally match with the right jobs, the right opportunity, the right individuals that can further progress themselves professionally at any stage, truly. I mean, we'll focus initially on manager to C-suite, but once our MVP is really completed through beta, there's so much opportunity, Ashley, to focus on, contract position, native type roles, sort of this like future of work too, that people love, sort of being a 1099 and like having like different clients. And especially if you're in like marketing and social or, sort of business strategy, sometimes you just not, want to be working with just one person, you want that kind of like per project and then on to the next. So I think that there is a massive shift that we're going to see. And it's already happening with some of these AI, open AI, doing ATS vetting and like honestly, like AI doing first interviews with people, which is like real scary. I'm like, please, like, why are we letting robots interview? So AI concierge delivering you opportunities on a silver platter under this app with a human touch in a private vetted career community where you can know that you're seen and supported. I mean, that's all that we can ask for in this day and age. And that's going to be the future. So just like we join social clubs, golf clubs, gym clubs, like this is your career club and we're just getting started and I'm really excited to like flip traditional recruiting software on its head and be sort of that it girl software where there's names, there's recognitions, there's some big people backing this in the community of, people that have brands and are kind of well-known sort of entity founders, things we all love to shop and buy. So it's really kind of fun to be like the new kid on the block, super scary, as I've had, you know, no training or learnings up into this point of like, let me just build a tech company. But going back to the early stages, if I see an opportunity, someone's going to get there first. Actually, like, why not you? Right. That's always kind of my force behind.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Literally, this book
yeah.
I just read this book by this, like, Hollywood producer. I had to pull it off the shelf. Who better than you?
Yep.
It's literally the thing because that
Yes.
is it's so real. Um,
Yeah.
so that's amazing. My first question is, will this price point be closer to, like, luxury or closer to, are we talking about, like, Dunkin' Donuts, or are we talking about, like, single origin sourced, local coffee shop? Where are we on the spectrum?
I mean, I think just like any new emerging tech, we can't come out of guns a blazing being like, give us all this money and like we're kind of still figuring it out. I think in terms of like pricing, because, imagine going to, is it Mercedes or whatever, and you get this car and like the technology is kind of wonky and you're like, hey, I paid a premium for this. Like this should work. I mean, talking to a girl that worked at Louis Vuitton for years and years where people would scream about their bags breaking and like throw things at me. It was amazing. Um, I'm like, yeah, not that's not because the bag's problem. It's like you
Yeah.
can't treat your bag like that, but that's a long story. So at the end of the day, we are trying to be accessible, but definitely in a sense of like it's a subscription for job seekers, which is very aligned in a way to if you are paying already for LinkedIn Premium or, wanting to have the in mails and whatever. I mean, you're paying a price, but you're still in the masses. And quite frankly, actually, that's like 79 to over $100 a month, where ours is marginally, a little bit higher than that, but it comes out to like $6 a day. And it's a coffee. Like my whole thing is like, if you can buy coffee, you can buy Concé because you're in a community where you have to apply. We're vetting through. It's not going to be fake profiles. We want people that are committed on there. There's going to be career coaching, email sourcing, video pitches, job profiles that are coming right into you. So for what anyone is paying now, or then also a coach that's not doing any of that for you, I think that at the end of the day, it kind of comes out into the wash of, well, I probably have, I mean, if you think about the people that have already paid $1,500 to redo their resume a couple times, like you've already paid for a year of Conti and more. And underneath the hood, you have on-demand coaches. You can set up an interview prep with the coach. We're partnering with a coaching app that's going to be like an API plugin and all of that. So as I said, a personal investment line item in your P&L budget, it's really not going to, I would say, push any further than what's already out there and not doing much for people, right? So imagine investing in something you're like, oh my gosh, like I am in this amazing community. I've, met some new companies and new opportunities. Like I've actually seen events on there posted of things that I should be going to in my industry to like upskill. And, I just also feel like people are so lost of like, if I want to learn more, if I want to get into a new room, like what does that look like? So we're just really
Right.
curating this whole like professional, like next level access,
Love
which
this.
anything good, it's never going to, it shouldn't be like super cheap
Couldn't.
because that is for everyone. And this isn't for everyone. But think about Netflix, Disney Plus. Like, girl, remember when that was like $9.99? Now Disney Plus is like $60. You're like, yeah. Now it's like $60 a month, and like everyone in your family's on your plan. You're like, what
Yeah.
happened? So we'll start small, but I think as we continue to add features, like the long term opportunity for this is endless and massive. And
Right.
especially as we think about other tiers, other generation of career, support that we can give. But it'll be accessible, and we really want to get people into beta and test it out. So first 90 days are completely free on the platform, and for companies, I mean, it's almost about a $30,000 savings, as we price it up against LinkedIn for the seats that we're giving you, and almost like the concierge support. So you have like a back pocket agency recruiter plus better tech software. Like companies spend 100 to $300,000 for one hire. Actually, yeah. So we're gonna save a lot of time and money on both sides, and then you're gonna be in like a bomb ass like career community
I
where
think so
you
cool.
aspire to be in Concé, especially growing in your career, and like again, just being supportive, not having to chase recruiters, not having to chase your network, but start forging like some real amazing connections in your industries and just be seen and
Yeah.
valued for the
Yeah.
human person that you are. So there's a lot that we're baking in there to make sure that is so. Yeah.
That's really
Right?
well, it's just it's really cool. I love that you say it's not for everyone. I think that that's right. Kind of like, marketing rule number 1 of, like, everyone is not your customer, right? And that's okay, and that just makes you better at serving who you really wanna serve. Also, I love that you're kind of making it easier for people, especially for folks who have been working from home for the past 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. They may feel out of touch with their work community. Who is out there now? Who are we tend to, like, maybe see like the top leaders in every space, but not necessarily like what's that tier down or who are the emerging leaders or right. Like, I just think it's incredibly smart because anything that keeps community in mind, especially in the world right now, anything that allows people to be seen. I think people are going to want it. I think people are going to be interested in that because there's so much that we don't feel seen,
No.
in terms of how we live life. And even though it is an online platform, with your vision of how you want to build things out, it just sounds like it has a real potential to go so far beyond that in a
Yeah.
plethora of ways, which is really, really cool.
No, it's so fun, and it's intentional matching, so even, beyond, again, like, the MVP, which is, really the product that gets you to market, like, the minimum viable product, like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
the minimum, sort of, like, features needed to just say, "Hey, guys, we have something," as we're fully fundraising and whatnot, but, we're thinking, again, and curating this, not like traditional LinkedIn platforms where people are spammed. I mean, I'm sure you get connected
Oh
with
my
people
gosh.
all the time, like from God knows where. You're like, what? It
Yeah.
would never make sense to add you to my
And
community.
it's just a waste of my time,
It's a
quite
waste of
frankly.
time. Yeah, you're like, you got 50 to 100 like in mails or like people trying to add you to your network. You're like, why?
Right.
Where, kind of creating this like Concy Connect where not only if you're on there doing job search and getting matched, like, hey, Concy Connect, like you're interested in learning about, like financial M&As or this or that. And then you're finding people in the community that like, hey, I want to mentor in this, or hey, like I would love to talk about somebody and helping me co-found a business, or I'm really interested in like pivoting into entrepreneurship. Like there will be these kind of short list buttons where as you decide on your preferences, it's like who do you want to curate in your community that you want to learn from? So it's almost like combining like a masterclass situation, where people are going to be training and learning and connecting, but also this connection where it doesn't necessarily have to just be about a job like long term. Like I want people on the platform to like, yeah, wake up and open their app and be like, oh cool, like I have 5 intentional professional connections where it's like, oh cool, like Ashley can talk to me about the X, Y, and Z training, and like someone like wrote a book and I'm super interested in doing that. Like I think, girl, that doesn't exist right now unless you have these massive opportunities where you're getting into big masterminds and things like that, which sometimes like that's not for everybody. And if you're already like a mastermind event individual, like you're going to pay for those things anyway. But imagine like having just intentional professional connections as well of things you're interested in learning, or like maybe you can support somebody in. Like I just have such a vision for this like long-term education, intentional matching, intentional connection, intentional conversations. Like, girl, that's what changes the world. It's not all this like fluff and like, oh, I can help you. And then, you're really just in, again, these masses of people like reaching out to their network and resources that are so overwhelmed. And like, does anyone really ever, say your name in a room of opportunity? And does your resume ever really get followed up with? And oh, by the way, you probably spend like 3 weeks trying to find that person's email. It's like everything's going to be right there. And if you wanted to even build in a stronger chemistry, we actually have something we're implementing that we're calling almost like a digital professional pitch. So that when someone's matched to your page, there is a 60-second video where you do a little intro of
Right.
welcome to your page. My name is Meghan Houle. I'm a 20-year veteran. Because I will tell you, if we continue to start getting people feeling confident about talking about themselves in a meaningful and concise way, we are going to change the way people network, change the way people feel confident in terms of stepping into a room or stepping into an interview, because we know that's probably a high percentage of what keeps people not moving forward or not going to events or not showing up, because they feel like they don't know how to talk about themselves or they don't have anything to say, which is completely false. So, almost doing a vibe check on our pages. And also, if like I wanted to connect with you, I can send you like a little video or a voice note through the app. Hey Ashley, like you're amazing. I would love to like a chat. Like I'd love to be on a podcast or whatever. And I just think that in a non-spammy way, because you're only going to be able to like really connect if that other person is feeling it too. But in order to forge that connection, like we need to start to, and I don't want to say force because I feel like it's so bad and we always want to flow into it, but we need to start changing the way that we interact with each other that feels more human as well. Because like enough, like great, again, AI technology, whatever, but like if we're all gonna just get hired by robots and they're gonna start thinking and being creative for us, like we're in deeper trouble than we can already imagine. A human person behind that should be able to analyze the AI and data and use it for good. But I would say like this platform is going to help like keep the human and the connection in a process. And also, I would say, just in general, of a way that, yeah, that that's just never going to go away. And if you're not feeling confident in connecting and vibing with people, there's so many like, I think people that just get so stuck and then they're not moving anything forward because they're like, well, I don't know how to do that. So
Right,
I'm just
right.
going to stay home and like, something's going to come my way. And it's like, no, like we
It
really
won't.
have to get comfortable putting ourselves out there. And I know, guys, I'm pushing everybody's comfort zone. And soon, as we get ready for beta, I was thinking about doing kind of like, almost like a Concé preview where I would love to do this like kind of big masterclass of just intentional conversations and hiring and like how to navigate job search or conversations and personal branding about yourself, where I just want to get people excited about trying something new and different, because there's going to be a big change management conversation of like, are we really buying into this? Of like, oh, well, I'm sorry, is the old way working? No, absolutely not for nobody.
Right,
So,
right.
and you
Love.
can't just use AI, everybody, please. Just stop thinking
No,
it's
you
only AI.
really can't, and you can't let your children use it either in their developing brains,
Like,
like, they have to learn how to, which is a whole nother podcast.
yeah,
Whole
you're
nother
like different
I'm like,
combo.
don't even get me started. AI is so useful, but you have to be responsible.
Yes.
You just have to be responsible,
No.
and it's
No.
not
Yeah.
it shouldn't whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we wrap, I want to ask if there is some woman out there listening that's like, okay, Megan, I love you. I love everything you're saying. I don't know what my first move is toward my dream life, dream job, starting a company, whatever it is. What's your piece of advice for someone who needs like a little push in the tush to get started?
Well, I would say, what is the biggest limiting belief that you're telling
Mm,
yourself today that is the first hurdle that you need to get over? And just what is that first thought that comes to mind as to why you're not taking that next step? And then, if it's I don't feel, worthy enough, or nobody is going to see if I have value, or I wasn't ever set up for set. I mean, like that, first of all, it's always the mindset, Ashley. So I think about like really getting clear of like, what's that belief about you that's probably not true?
mhm, mhm.
Then sit down, write that belief down, and then rewrite that belief. Is that truly your reality? So when you write down, I don't have a network, nobody wants to support me. I actually do have a network that I could reach out to. I will try to connect with these two people because I have helped them before in the past and I am worthy of reciprocation. Boom. And from there, it's rewriting and taking action.
Mhm.
And how can you, whether it's just one little micro movement a day, just like with fitness, girl, which is a whole nother podcast.
Whole nother
When
podcast.
you change the way that you think, you rewrite that belief, and then you say, great, for the next 30 days, I'm going to just reach out to one person in my network and ask them, or I'm going to get up an hour earlier so I can give myself some time to send out a few more emails, or I feel like I'm sitting heavy with this. So let me journal on it and get some clarity. And maybe it is time now to invest in a coach. But unless you have like this self awareness moment, and then you can see your reality to be a little more fact based, where it's maybe not as terrible as it seems, but then you can kind of action on that, like that is the way forward. And sometimes it's anchoring in, and I so love mentoring so many women I can, find somebody that inspires you. And honestly, be bold then. Reach out, tell them you like love what they're doing. Reach out on Insta and be like, I love, what you're saying. I love your messaging. And just start to like build even community. You guys, I know it feels scary, but the other side of fear could be something incredible. And when I said 2 freaking years ago in a mastermind, I'm like literally getting the chills with the biggest imposter syndrome in my whole body with 42 women that have franchises, multi exited businesses, sold their company for $250 million. And here I am, like little Meghan Houle. I'm like, I do agency recruiting. And now it's like I'm screaming for the rooftops that, I'm taking on LinkedIn. It's like the other side of fear was me saying, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I have this credibility to be able to do it. Why not me? And it's been 2 years in the making where I think everyone just is like, oh, it happens overnight, but it's micro actions. It's a belief in yourself. It's an investment in yourself, and it's surrounding yourself with the right people that you need to have in your life at this time. And if you need to edit out the naysayers, if you need to do not disturb, some family members in your life, like we're not taking those calls. Like you have to just get so fierce with like your boundaries and your priorities to be able to go out and make it happen. Because like I prep people every day in interviews. I can tell you all the things that you need to say, but honestly, the magic is in you and you have to action it. And if you can master that, girl, in some way, unstoppable, unstoppable, right?
Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much.
Yes.
And I mean, like, really, it might look overnight to other people, but like you said, you're a 20-year veteran. Like you've been like in some ways your micro movements have just been showing up to work every day.
Yeah.
And one day you saw this white space, like, and it came together. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want anyone to ever get fooled by this idea of like speed or like moving beyond when you're ready or feeling like you need to force it because like you were so clearly in flow with all of your life experience and your career experience to now be getting ready to really launch this company. It's just incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
inspiring.
thank you. Yeah,
Thank
and doing a lot of work, a lot of lessons along the way. It's not gonna feel good, like we hear in some fitness classes. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But at the end of the day, you have more power, I feel like, than you think. But quite frankly, it was a lot of shifts in mindset that allowed me to be able to show up and dealing with some pretty heavy times, which it's not always gonna feel great, but like you're gonna be like, wow, I did that, I accomplished that, I got through it, and just feel proud of yourself and really like celebrate the moments. It's okay to celebrate yourself. It's okay to be like, wow, I'm so proud. And it's not always on to this next, but like just sit with it and exist for a little bit too. Don't always feel like you have to be chasing that next thing, but don't hold yourself back by thinking that next thing is impossible because it is. It is. Yeah.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
here for you. Whatever you need, guys.
I appreciate you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your wisdom. It's like we're not even scratching the surface of who you are and what you do and what you put out there. But all of your websites and links and everything will be in the show notes. Please go follow Megan. All things Meg Houle on Instagram. It'll all be linked. Like you will not miss anything because we want to make sure that you stay connected to her and everything that she's doing going forward. But truly,
Yeah.
thank you so much for
Thank
saying
you,
yes.
Ashley. Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait for everyone to reach out and to be in the network. Thanks for allowing me to come on to the podcast. It was such an honor.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.